The following program is intended for informational purposes only and not as a standalone tool. Please refer to the Flexco website and other Flexco and Mineline literature for more detailed instructions. Prior to any work on your conveyors, make sure that the power has been turned off and that the belt is locked out. Follow other safety precautions as outlined in the operator's manual. And be sure to put on all recommended safety gear before beginning any belt maintenance procedure. Gather your tools and the material shipped to you with your MHCP Precleaner. You will need a tape measure, a 2 or 4 foot level, a marker, a torch, welder, a heavy-duty vise, an adjustable wrench, a combination wrench, and a grinder. Keep in mind that for open head installations, you will first need to add mounting support to the structure. Mounting plate and optional mounting bar kits are available from Flexco. Contact your sales representative or call our customer service hotline for more information. The first step in installing the MHCP is determining the key measurements, which we'll call dimensions X, Y, and C. Start by measuring the diameter of the pulley, including the lagging and belt. Now, refer to the chart included in your installation instruction packet to determine dimensions X, Y, and C. Keep in mind that dimensions X and Y can be adjusted if you encounter obstacles. Dimension C, however, must remain constant. The next step is to mark dimensions X and Y on the chute wall. Begin with dimension X. The easiest way to locate dimension X is to place a level on the pulley shaft and draw a horizontal line. Now, measure the diameter of the pulley shaft. Divide this number by 2. This is the distance you should measure up from the line you just drew. Mark this point. Now we'll work on dimension Y. Starting from the mark you just made, measure down the distance indicated by your installation packet chart. Make a mark at this point. Now, use your level to draw a horizontal line through this point. This is where the blade pull will be located. It's important to verify that you've identified the right position for the blade pull. This is where dimension C comes in. Measure the distance from the center of the pulley to the crosshairs you have just drawn. The result should match the distance specified for dimension C in your installation instructions. If it doesn't, go back and check your earlier measurements. For detailed instructions on how to relocate the X and Y coordinates, see our online video library at flexco.com. Once you're ready to move on, you'll want to repeat this entire process on the opposite side of the conveyor. Find the mounting plate template that came in your instruction packet. Place the center of the largest hole over the end point of the Y line. Line up your guidelines with the marks on the mounting template. Now, trace the center hole. Trace out the remaining holes. Now you'll need your torch. Use it to cut out all the holes you traced, then grind the edges for safety. Finish this step by priming or painting the cutouts. Repeat this process on the opposite side of the conveyor. Retrieve the round extender poles and square center pole from your installation kit. From outside the chute wall, insert one of the extender poles through the center hole and into the center pole on the other side. Make sure that holes in the extender pole align with the corresponding holes in the center pole. Also, the welded nuts and locking bolts should be positioned so that they point both downward and away from the head pulley. Do not tighten the locking bolts. Repeat this process on the opposite side of the conveyor. Now you're ready to install the mounting plates. With the bolts provided, attach each of the mounting plates to the chute wall. The next step is to install the blade cartridge. Adjust the extender poles until their holes align with those of the center pole and the blade cartridge. Now, lock the cartridge into place with the 2 bolts, washers, and nuts from your installation kit. Make sure the extender poles reach at least 6 inches past the mounting plates. You will need this space for installing the tensioner. Next, you'll want to position the blades where they will be most effective. Slide the pole until the blades are centered over the belt's material path. Standard blade coverage is 6 inches less than the width of the belt. However, if less coverage is needed, you can remove individual blades. It's not necessary for the blades to be centered in the cartridge. The next step is to lock the extender poles into place. Check to make sure that the holes in your extender poles are still aligned with the center pole. Then, tighten all locking bolts and jam nuts. You're almost done. All that's left to do is to install the tensioner. You will have received one of 3 types of tensioners depending on your conveyor system. If your kit came with a Precleaner spring tensioner, keep watching. If your kit came with either the air, water, or nitrogen tensioners, refer to your installation sheet for further instructions. Your Precleaner spring tensioner comes specifically configured for shipping. Begin by removing the adjusting nuts and springs from the rods. Next, you'll want to determine the best position for your pivot rod. The base can be installed in any of the 4 mounting holes. You will need to consider the angle at which the blade tensioner will be installed. It can be mounted in any position 360 degrees around the pole. Choose the position that will give you the best access for making future tension adjustments. Once you've selected the optimum position, thread the pivot rod mounting bolt through the chute wall and mounting plate and into the pivot rod base. Now tighten. Next, slide the torque arm onto the extender pole until it is flush against the mounting plate. Then rotate it until the pivot rod slips through the slot. Now it's time to reassemble the spring mechanism. Slide the spring, washer, and bushings onto the pivot rod. Tighten the 2 adjusting nuts until about 1/4 inch of the rod is exposed. Now you'll want to repeat the last 3 steps on the other side of the conveyor. The next step is to rotate the blades until they contact the belt. Now, return to the torque arm. While holding the spring bushings flat against it, rotate the torque arm until the pivot rod is flush against the part of the slot nearest the pole. Tighten the locking bolts and jam nuts on the torque arm. Last step. This is the point at which you set the blade tension. To determine the appropriate spring length, refer to the chart in your installation instructions or the decal on your mounting plate. Turn the adjusting nuts until the spring reaches the length indicated by the chart. Repeat steps on the other side of the conveyor. Next, recheck the spring length on the first side to make sure there's been no inadvertent movement. To verify that the MHCP is located correctly, it's important to switch on the conveyor and test run it for 15 minutes. Make any adjustments necessary to optimize the pre-cleaner's performance. Add tape to protect the threaded rod. For more information on MHCP Precleaner installation, go to www.flexco.com or contact your authorized Flexco distributor.